Okay, I'd like to go over 2 ways that I set up breakout rooms in my seminary class. The first example is going to be using their study notebooks and a shared Google slide. And the second example is going to be using a shared Google Doc that the students will edit. So before I start my class, I want to set up my computer a certain way so that it's really easy while I'm in the class. I've got my Google document set up that I'm going to be referencing in class, or if I'm using the slide, then I've got my Google slide pulled up. So I like to have those in their own window, and then I have my Zoom meeting in a separate window. So then when I do share screen, it's really easy to locate. So before you start your class, determine about how many students you think will be in attendance and how big you want your groups to be. Determine that based on what is their task going to be, and would it be better done with partners or with 3. So let's do the first example of using their study journal in the breakout rooms activity. You're going to first tell the students to get out their study journals, maybe show that on the camera, and then you're going to share your screen. And when you share your screen, go ahead and do the present like this so that they can see the example really nice and big. So on the screen that you share with them, have the example of what you want them to do in their notebooks. And then let me just see if I can move this so that you can see down here at the bottom. Here's the second task. I usually give them 1 or 2 tasks to do while they're in their breakout room so they don't run out of work. And then once you've explained all of that to them, then stop the share. Oh, hold on. Let me go back. Go back to that and exit out of the slide. And then just go up there and copy the link to that slide. And then when you stop share, go into the chat and paste the link to the shared slide and tell everyone to click on that link so they can have the slide open once they go in their breakout rooms. If they don't click on that link now, then when they get to their breakout room, this chat is not available. They won't have the link and they won't know what it is they're supposed to be doing in their notebooks. Then go ahead and you do your breakout rooms. Before you send them to their breakout rooms, tell them how they are going to be held accountable for their breakout room activity. So let them know if they're all going to have to type something in the chat when they come back, if you're going to call on 2 or 3 of them, if they're going to have to do a speed round where everyone shares something quickly. So let them know how they're going to be held accountable so that they really use their time when they're in their breakout rooms. So, all right. I like to then join those breakout rooms because you really don't have any visibility to whether or not they're working. So join a couple of the rooms, just listen in for a little bit, see if you need to answer any questions. After you close the breakout rooms, make sure you really do follow through and hold them accountable. And then you can go a little bit deeper and ask more questions and make the discussion a little more robust. Okay, now the second option for sharing or for sending them to breakout rooms is using a shared Google Doc. Now, this one, they wouldn't be using their study notebooks because they're using and editing that shared Google Doc. So let me show you an example of that. So let me share my screen with you again. And I'm going to jump over to, here, let's move this out of the way. Actually, let's just dump that up here. Okay, now, here's the first example. This example, you are letting the computer automatically choose the groups. You're just choosing the number. And when you send them into their breakout rooms, you're going to tell the students which group they're in, so they'll know where to look. But let's see here, the group number 1, they have their task. they know the scripture reference they're supposed to use, and then it's they've got the things down here. Now, they've already entered some things. This is a thing we already used for a class, but this shows you how you would set up your Google Doc for that particular class or breakout room. They are all going to be using the same Google Doc, and they will be adding to it. So you're going to be able to view it and see who's active on that Google Doc. And then if there's one group that's not active and they're not typing anything, you can just go in and join their room and see if there's a hang up. Now, the second way that you can use a shared Google Doc is, here's an example where I actually just determined before class who I wanted in each group, and I gave each of them an assignment. So on this one, I have their names next to the group that they're supposed to be in. So there's a chance that that may not work out as well if some of those students are absent that day, but for the most part, this is a nice way to have them organized so they can just go straight to that Google Doc and start working on it. With this second, well, either way with the shared Google Doc, I like to give them a role. Maybe we'll give them the role of a reporter or a scribe or the timer. If there's multiple tasks that they need to do, then I tell them how much time per task, and the timer will keep them on target as a group. And then I like to change those roles around. Sometimes have the reporter be the oldest in the group or the youngest or the one with the birthday at the beginning of the year, whatever it is, so that different people are reporting. One advantage to using a shared Google Doc like this is that, so you would, again, come to the shared Google Doc, you would copy it, then you would go back to your chat, you would paste it in the chat, and everybody clicks on it. Then after they've clicked on it and they have it open, then you set up the breakout rooms. You create your breakout rooms and send them to their rooms, which is kind of fun to send them to their rooms. And let them know how they will be held accountable. Will one person be reporting? Will all of them have to report in a speed round? So make sure that they understand that. When they come back, now don't leave them in the breakout rooms too long, or they end up having too much time on their hands, and then the next time they think they can just visit at the beginning instead of jumping in and getting to work. So make sure you break off the breakout rooms, cut them off before they've actually all the way finished. During the reporting time, when you've pulled the class back together, this is when a lot of really good deep learning takes place, when they report on what they've learned, and then you start asking some follow-up questions, or you start connecting what one group has learned with what another group has learned, and they start making those connections. They start evaluating themselves, what they can do, and it's really nice to follow up with a journaling activity or with them writing a principle that they've learned, something of that sort, so that they've been in that topic and in that they've been studying that a little bit longer and explored it a little bit more, talked about it, and I find that this is when the Spirit really helps them with their learning. So don't shortchange this part of the breakout rooms. The follow-up after the breakout rooms have closed, the follow-up is very critical.